Hello, I'm the Angry Spork, taking issue with G.I. Joe vs. Transformers from Image Comics. Autobot and Decepticon alike are made tools of war for the terrorist group Cobra, while G.I. Joe is just being built up. With Wheeljack and Bumblebee searching for their allies, and a Cobra turncoat named Mercer offering valuable information, the arms dealer Destro arrives and is introduced to Soundwave. Issue 3's cover sees the Joes close in on a bewildered yellow Autobot. That's right, they're swarming Bumblebee. We open on a splash page of Destro, flanked by some guards, with Dr. Mindbender, Cobra Commander, Soundwave, and his cassettes reflected in various places on his mask. It's a nice attention to detail, especially given all those curves and contours. It's mentioned that a senator's death in the UN summit alleviated certain profit-killing sanctions for Destro, as he's shown 14 Snake battle mechs, with more on the way. Though it's hinted that they can't keep pilots inside during transformation without things getting, messy.
I'd like to point out that that test pilot survived.
And I don't dislike the designs at all, but they kinda do look like one of those mecha from Gurren Lagann if they were designed by MODOK after a Star Wars marathon. And I've never watched Gurren Lagann. The Scotsman wants to personally test Soundwave in the field, specifically Cobra's planned attack at the SPS Center, and he's not taking no for an answer. Having been given the schematics in advance, he'll be able to control the robot, but the commander isn't about to let him go alone. Then we see a newscaster reporting on a photo of Soundwave that had been emailed to enough people that it became newsworthy. Its authenticity, of course, denied by the US government. This is what happens when villainy becomes such a casual thing. They start Instagramming their doomsday weapons. The news is watched by Flint, not so much Lady J, as the former has already done his strategic outlines, confident in any one of them to work out. Then they're called to a meeting they're already late for. Soon, they're briefed on the USS PS, a top-secret, powerful solar-powered satellite, the prototype of which is currently in orbit. Its intent is to gather solar radiation to beam down via microwaves and have even more in orbit to cut use of fossil fuels by 2018. And nothing yet. And according to Mercer, Cobra plans to usurp the satellite and power the Transformers indefinitely. Environmentally safe doom! We jump to a Destro-controlled Soundwave, closing in on the facility controlling the satellite, and deploying the cassettes while Zartan and Firefly cloak in updated-looking trouble bubbles. Yes, that's what they actually called them. It was the 80s. Just as he's about to have one of the cassettes open fire, it's shot by one of the workers, a Joe called Sci-Fi that I guess must have been disguised before this panel, having successfully tested their own laser weapon. Roadblock and two other Joes take on the Flyers, but with bullets. Ratbat is shot down, but Laserbeak makes it inside where other real American heroes await, but is soon decapitated by Snake Eyes, while Flash and Sci-Fi, who I guess each got a laser gun, are hit by the seismic attack of Rumble? Wait, I thought Frenzy was blue and Rumble was red. Was Fibreer all a lie? Sideswipe and Sunstreaker are barreling towards the building until they're deflected by Wheeljack, while Rumble is likewise knocked aside by Bumblebee. Master of Disguise that's not currently disguised, Zartan, takes out Quick Kick, Mutt, and his Mutt junkyard, resorting to tranks and knocking them out while cloaked, while Firefly is busy placing charges. Does make you wonder why he didn't get more lethal given his advantage. B takes some debris off the Joe techs, saying that he needs their help, but it's also just the right thing to do. He's then approached by tanks and told to exit the robot, which, for a Cybertronian, is probably like telling him to have an out-of-chassis experience. Anyway, CoverGirl fires a missile at him since she apparently missed the briefing about how the giant space robots could be sentient, or she's just got an itchy trigger finger. He fortunately deflects it at an enemy while Wheeljack tackles Soundwave, and Sci-Fi vouches for the yellow Autobot. You might say on his behalf.
Yes, fuel me with your disdain!
Kick and Mutt are up and about, the latter wanting revenge for his dog, and they enter a secured room while each finds different levels of humor and a joke about getting probed. Zartan is making an exit while leaving Ravage to deal with the Joes. Outside, given Wheeljack's assault and the incoming military aircraft as backup, Destro confirms his allies are ready, so he decides to retrieve the other androids and meet them on the way to Cobra Island. We miss out on Ravage scratching the Joe's clothes to death, and the Robo-Cat leaves just as Mutt was preparing to use a grenade to maybe take him out, though certainly kill him and his buddy. With Mutt's leg injured, Quick Kick begins helping him out before one of several successive explosions rock the facility from the lower levels. As dramatic as that sounds, it's mere panels before the dust has apparently settled, and it looks like everyone has gotten out. Quick Kick will be fine, and at worst Mutt is in critical condition. Seems the only fatality here was the impact of the supposed threat. Though it's admitted that things could have been worse as B cautiously approaches. I come in peace?
Oh, you can't fool us. We've seen Michael Bay's movies. We know you're about to leak coolant on us.
Abernathy is hesitant to offer any trust, but hey, so is Wheeljack, transforming in front of them after a couple of Joes get out of his front seats. Don't know what they were doing in there in the first place, but whatever. He offers some incapacitated Decepticons. I guess Destro didn't feel like retrieving all his little helpers. And in return, the bots are shown the image of Soundwave circulating the news, now with an indecipherable text that we didn't see earlier. And the good news is, it's a Cybertronian code from Optimus Prime, containing their whereabouts and information on the network Cobra uses to control them. As Jack attempts to do some work himself, several Joes instinctively take aim. But Abernathy tells them to stand down and
Sweet Jamie Madrox, he and Duke look exactly alike!
One of his fingers opens up to reveal multiple smaller digits able to work on an Earth keyboard, intended to show Cobra
something it will never forget.
If it's a cat meme, we already tried that. Our social media Joe was pretty heartbroken at the failure of that particular mission. Poor mean tweet.
On Cobra Island, Mindbender is marveling at how adept the purple and green robots are at construction, hintity hint hint. But then they start rebelling, threatening to rip him apart.
What? Did you spoke?
Even with those ellipses, the progression of words there is just plain weird. I guess we're supposed to assume that Baldy fumbled his tenses in fear and forgot how to English speak good. Minute, waiter.
He tries calling his leader on the matter, but...
I'd love to help you, Doctor, but I think I have a problem of my own.
More than you know, Cobra Commander. More than you know. The B cover for issue 4 is a wraparound, featuring the formed Devastator, various Transformers that are kind of difficult to identify, and Optimus Prime about to enter into battle while Snake Eyes drops down nearby. And in the foreground, the Commander is seen brandishing Megatron, as if he thinks he's sneaking up on Prime. Silly little snake. At Joe headquarters, Wheeljack explains that apparent attempted hacking of Prime's brain granted him access to Cobra's systems, if only briefly. This allowed him the opportunity to take that image of Soundwave and attach text in his native language that no human would be able to decipher. While the Constructicons taunt Mindbender on Cobra Island, not sure that needed a splash page, but whatever, Destro, Zartan, and Firefly have the software needed to take control of the supersolar satellite, and are ready to take their remaining payment and then their leave. And that's when Soundwave offers a dissenting view. Prime is about to secure Cobra Commander for human authorities, incidentally jamming his only way out, and Megatron won't fire after the unwilling aid he'd been previously forced to give. and demands that the only way his blue-cloaked slave driver will survive is to free him entirely. The commander throws him aside, and at the press of a button on his belt, Megatron transforms to confront his oldest enemy.
Fear of public speaking. I mean Optimus Prime!
As more Cybertronians are liberated and Decepticons start busting up the place, the Autobots regain their senses, and after a brief scare of Cobra trying to bring Ironhide back under control, they intend to teach their persecutors a lesson, after they find Prime. And on a lighter side of things, Major Blood tries to fly to safety, only to be trapped in the, chest pit of Thundercracker.
I'll fire up my engines when I feel like it. But right now, I feel more like taking a stroll.
Maybe stop by the local stray animal depository, get myself one of those selectively bred canines, and start writing screenplays for Earth Entertainment while living out of an agricultural storage hut.
Abernathy and Flint are preparing for their mission when two generals arrive, Renegar and Horn. Their intent is to take the two alien automatons to Area 51 for study and disassembly, and try reverse engineering what they can learn with the three damaged foes from the fight earlier.
No disassemble.
As for Cobra Island, the Joes are on standby and being replaced with a simple nuclear strike intended to destroy Cobra and the Transformers. The aircraft B and Jack are currently waiting in is conveniently equipped with a magnetic pulse generator to incapacitate them for their imminent incarceration. As the generals depart, Hawk regretfully follows his orders. After telling his crew of the gist of the new plan, Wheeljack struggles to inform him that a nuclear attack on a base with Energon would end up devastating the planet.
But whatever you do, don't try telling your commanding officers about this and try to get them to change their minds. Don't be intelligent about it. Oh.
As the two old adversaries bust through a wall, Megatron gloats that he saved more energy than Prime while he and Cobra Commander were, attached at the hip. But Optimus still has plenty of fight left in him. However, an off-panel blast from none other than Soundwave aids in knocking Prime down. Megs orders his right-hand bot to find whichever Cobra goon has the SPS component so he can use the satellite for unlimited energon on Earth. We don't see Wave leave as Megs prepares to finally end Prime, but he must have, as the Tyrant is shot by Starscream, ever the snake in the grass. But Megatron blasts him back for ruining his plans, and finding Prime's backup has arrived. Cobra Commander tries running for a speedboat to retreat, but it's destroyed by a pair of trouble bubbles, actually Gears and Brawn.
I say we relocate his head from his shoulders.
Don't be hasty. I'll cut you a deal.
I let Optimus Prime negotiate my deals.
You'd be surprised how far his freedom is the right of all sentient beings speech goes when you're looking for a decent apartment.
Before they can make good on any kind of threat, the bots are struck from their 6 o'clock by a snake mecha piloted by Storm Shadow, making a late entry into the story. While the commander scampers off, Shadow shows how easily he can hold off the two Cybertronians. After a call for assistance from Baroness, the ninja says he wants to make sure their leader is safe before rendezvousing at her coordinates. Why is he so loyal? The story never says. Meanwhile, Rumble is closing in on Destro and Zartan, only to be stepped on by Baroness in a Cobra mech of her own. She expresses relief that Tin Face is still alive, and offers 2 more snakes they can pilot.
So, what was the danger that needed Storm Shadow's assistance? What was the emergency? You don't look like you finished some intense battle, and there are 2 other goons with you, it looks like, so why exactly did you need the ninja?
In the Cobra lair, Soundwave keeps the Constructicons from seeing who'd get a wish from Dr. Mindbender, as he's needed for the SPS satellite. While the meatbag is taken away to do his new job, the group will protect the satellite module and, if need be, combine. In the meantime, Wave begins generating storage cubes for their impending Energon. In Washington, D.C., Horn and Renegar contact 3 other generals, in a darkened room of the Pentagon for some reason and are informed of the status of G.I. Joe, specifically that they've gone against orders and have set course for Cobra Island.
I know I joked about this earlier, but why hasn't Hawk told the generals that energon and nuclear blasts really don't mix? I mean, is the writer just really that committed to the action movie cliche that the top brass in the military really just want to solve every problem with the biggest possible explosion? And then again, if that's the case, then if Hawk did tell them, we'd get the standard angry assumption that it's all a trick, that the Joes are going to have to follow their orders anyway. So maybe all we lost is really just more of the cliche.
In case you've been wondering since issue 2 why Bumblebee and Wheeljack weren't captured, they were sealed off in a different part of the ship, so Cobra didn't even know they were there when they blasted the cavern and the ship's AI, Teletran 1, brought them back online. Then, with no segue whatsoever, Hawk expresses concern if he's doing the right thing, willing to take all the blame when the time comes. Wild Bill, the pilot that Abernathy is expositing all this to while their fleet is en route, says the Joes know that they're disobeying orders, because the right thing is more important.
And that's how this issue ends. No to be continued caption or anything. And given the look at that last panel, it's just a weird way to go out.
We got a lot more action in these issues, which was nice, and now that more of the Transformers can speak, we did get a little hint at the kind of personalities some of the characters had from the cartoon, which, even though there wasn't much, was pretty well translated here. But there were moments where pacing was a little off, like there being a whole page between two Joes facing off against Ravage, and then Ravage doing some pretty minor damage to them when you think about it. And of course, we get the standard cliche of military generals that care more about big kabooms than intel. And boy, did that plane with the immobilizing generator seem convenient. While I initially didn't think too much about how Bumblebee and Wheeljack managed to avoid capture, it was something that was worth explaining. It's just that I think it could have been done better, felt less tacked on, and done earlier in the story. But hey, maybe it was something they forgot to add until later in the writing process.
Tune in next week when I wrap up the series. Does it become a real American hero story, or does it transform and fall apart? I'm the Angry Spork, and man, have I got issues.
Not all of us are dishonorable, says the guy that just shot his opponents in the back.